Welcome, Craig.
Hi, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, of course. Great to have you. Very excited. And I guess, you have been writing for Inman News for quite a while. That's how we got connected a few years back. And I've
hmm
been a big fan of all of your write ups. I'm curious, just let our listeners know, maybe your background in real estate and then how you got started doing tech reviews for Inman.
Yeah, it's a long one, but I will try and keep it as brief as I can. I started in publishing, and then ended up in marketing, which I kind of studied professional communication and writing, so it was a good fit. But I started with CBRE, the big commercial real estate company. At the time, they were CB Richard Ellis. I was in marketing. I was helping the tenant representatives, the retail guys, all the facilities management crews. I was helping them with all kinds of marketing. It could be PowerPoint presentations or like some email broadcasts when that was just getting big. And to give you a little insight on how long ago I was doing this, when we wanted an aerial photo of like a retail development or a new building going up that we are going to lease and manage, I had to contact a pilot who would fly the site. 2 or 3 days later, I would get a black and white photo, sometimes color if we paid more. I would scan it into Photoshop, I don't know, 2.0, and then manually just put all the traffic counts and all that kind of stuff on the photos. So that's how I like now, right? There's apps that you don't it's instantaneous, that kind of data. Anyway, I went from CBRE, I was recruited over to a boutique tenant rep firm, and this is where it ties into what I do now. Uh, Part of my role at this new tenant rep firm was to build up their marketing. I did all their logo, I managed their website, but I was also um, charged with doing a lot of due diligence on some lease administration software. And we were going to resell that to multi site biotechs and .com companies, which is what we called them at the time, right? .coms. And I was fortunate enough to work with some very high end consultants that had spent years at IBM and Digital Equipment Corp and Microsoft. And I was kind of the conduit between these consultants and the company. And along the way, I learned a ton about how to overlap software with business processes specific to the real estate space. Granted, that was in commercial, but there's still a lot of overlap in how a real estate office runs. Um, I did that for several years, and then I took some time in nonprofit communications for a boarding school where I was doing like PR and alumni events and fundraising. So, not at all related to real estate. But in 2006, I think I jumped back into real estate, heading up marketing for a multifamily investment company. We sold, I mean, this company has been around a long time, it still is. We sold Class B, C, owner operated type properties. I did kind of put together a database for them, built a website, did all kinds of marketing. And I was licensed along the way as well. So I was selling a few properties and getting all involved in that as well. And that helped me again gain a real understanding about sales, like the very sales process, how the difference between buying investment property and residential. Um, yeah, and then 2008 and 9 hit, and we all know what happened then. I remember when the phone stopped ringing, like actually stopped. Their phone didn't ring for days, and eventually, the guy who ran the company, he was terrific about it. He held us on as long as he could, and basically said, "Look, I know you've kind of have the bug to go out on your own. So whatever marketing work I have left to do, I'll give to." So then I went out on my own as a freelance writer, and I did a lot of marketing consulting for commercial firms, a few residential brokerages. At that point, too, like blogs were just coming in as an SEO tactic, and in search engine optimization and marketing, when it came to content, was just keyword stuffing, right? So as a kind of a freelance writer, then at that time, that's what I was doing a ton of, like for real estate companies, because they needed as much attention as they could get during that period, right? Um, yeah, so fast forward many years, I was making a living doing a lot of writing for companies. I also work in the outdoor industry, which we can get into if you want. Um, and then in like 2015, I reached out to Inman just to be a contributor, so I could just kind of build a database portfolio to show clients I was, pitching. And the editor at the time said, "Look, we need somebody that understands technology to kind of come on in a contract role to do tech reviews." And that's kind of how it started. It was 2015, so it's been 9 years. I've been while I'm a contractor with Inman, they are kind of like technically my largest client, and it's been a really good relationship since then. So it's opened a lot of doors, and it's a great organization to work with. And I've learned a ton about. I was a writing major, not a journalism major. So along the way, I've learned a lot from my colleagues and from the editors I've worked with along the way. Um, so yeah, and that's kind of what brings us where we are today.
Well, you're a brilliant writer. I
Oh,
really
thank
enjoy
you.
your work, and very very witty too. You're very witty. You'll say things or put things in a way, and I'll be like, "Oh, that was really cool."
Oh,
So
thanks.
you're definitely good. You're good at that. So, so you get to kind of demo and get the first crack at new technologies in real estate.
Hmm.
And what I think is interesting is we look at like the late teens and early 20s, and there was billions coming into property technology and financial technology, and really all of this stuff for real estate.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just like dried up, right? The faucet went just turned off.
Hmm.
And now we have this kind of AI revolution, and we're seeing AI come in everything. And so I'm curious what you're seeing now that's really interesting in the real estate space with innovation, with technology, AI, any of that. I'm just really curious what you're seeing now.
I'm seeing research through AI, and I think it's fantastic. It is taking the very antiquated, dry process of just filter and search, right? I'm just checking boxes. And, that way of looking for a home just created hard guardrails, right? On the side of a search. So, if it knew, unless the agent was really good at communicating, that kind of search functionality never allowed for any sort of flexibility, right? What AI is doing now, when you combine computer vision, right, which for those who may not know is a form of AI that can read still images. It can read the contents of still images and turn that into actionable data. Um, what that kind of technology is doing behind the scenes, it's allowing search tools to understand better, almost better than the person looking, what they prefer in a home. And these are really cool lifestyle search advancements. Um, One example I can give is, uh, let's say someone is looking at their now. Okay, for example, AI or this computer vision allows you to compare rooms, right? So you don't have to just search to compare price or location or the exterior of a home. You can compare actual rooms. So if someone is just dead set on a specific type of kitchen, they can compare that because the search tools are reading the image. They know it's a kitchen, so someone can just say, I want to look at all the kitchens, and those images will automatically populate in the search results. But so let's say someone is continuing to look at a few specific kitchens, and maybe the agent thinks it's the tile floor, it's the color of the flooring, or it's the appliances they really like because they're all stainless or something. But what it really could be is the one common denominator in all those pictures is that there is a beautiful view outside the kitchen window that sits above the sink. And the AI can determine that what this person really wants is a backyard to look at through their kitchen. So it'll start whether, the flooring will be different, the cabinets will be different, but the AI will start to just deliver them images of houses with nice views outside the kitchen, right? And before the buyer knows it, they're like, yes, that's kind of what I've always wanted. And the benefit of that is that it could be outside of those guardrails. Maybe it has an extra bedroom. Maybe it only has a one-car garage. Maybe it's not in the zip code they want, but that backyard view is the driving parameter. right? So maybe it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And these are things that a standard MLS based filter and checkbox search could never really reveal, right? And this is the kind of stuff that takes, unfortunately, that's why agents for so long kind of didn't love to work with buyers, right? These months long tours driving around indecisive buyers. It's because it's hard to understand what it is they really want. Well, this AI is solving that. It can solve months and weeks of frustration, right? Just you can eliminate all kinds of properties, and before you know it, I think in another year, tours. I'm hoping. I think my prediction's correct that the length of time that tours go is going to cut way down, because between what AI is weeding out along the way, and then on top of that, you have the proliferation of more 3D tours, like more immersive online tours, which is a great thing and is going to get even better now that CoStar bought Matterport. I have some thoughts on that. Anyway, to summarize it, consumer search is where I think AI is having a great deal of impact. There are other ways, like it is, it can help agents automate their email marketing. It can better predict be a good lead. That's important. Um, but I think the real impact is in consumer search, and it's going to get even better.
Yeah, no, fascinating, and definitely a fan of that. I'm curious, you mentioned CoStar and their acquisition of Matterport, or the buyout of the remaining shares, I think
Yeah.
is how it went down. And I love what Zillow has done with their 3D scan, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. Like, it is the coolest tour, and I think it's better than the Matterport. I love how it creates that floor plan, and you can, like, just go to the dots and go through the house. I think it's really, really brilliant. I'm curious what your thoughts are on CoStar and Matterport, and
Sure.
what do you think what do you think the play is?
I want to step back one sec and say that a company out of Canada called Planetar that has a tour system called iGuide was doing that perspective based floor plan viewing years before Zillow was. They just don't have the traction. I tried to give it to them every time I write about them, but they were doing it long before that. But it is a very cool feature. Um, so yeah, what I think is going to happen with that, with CoStar buying that, and it needed to be done. Like Matterport wasn't. I don't think they were profitable. Super cool tech. You can't. It's just very hard to sell to individual agents, right? What I hope they do is they focus heavily on the mobile experience, because no one really wants to lug around those giant cameras, learn how to use them, or let alone pay for them, right? It's very much like trying to get agents to do video. It's just not going to happen, right? Like, so what I hope happens is that CoStar, it's obviously a Homes.com play. I mean, they have the commercial side of things. And just to date myself again, I when I was with CBRE, was manually walking around our offices recording space. That's how they were collecting data back then in like 2000 or 98, 99. I was walking the CoStar guy around buildings that CB managed. Um, anyway, what I think is going to happen is that I hope they focus on the mobile experience. I hope they advertise the power of these tours directly to consumers. Like they have $1 billion ad campaign going on in another 6 months when they get some things integrated and they get their ad team on top of this. I mean, if CoStar runs ads and starts to say that the only way you're going to get the most value out of your home is to use the Homes.com tour app, they may even totally rebrand it. Who knows? Um, I think that's going to be really powerful. They're going to push that to the consumers, and the consumer is going to say, "Hey, listing agent, I want one of these tours." This is my take on everything right now. It has to be consumer focused. That's what everybody continues to forget, is that agents can, like, the industry can resist all it wants, but if the consumer wants it, then you have like then that's it. Like, that's what drives it. You have to look at you got to look at consumer trends, right? And if Homes.com, they have a lot of money and they're paying somebody, I don't know who their ad firm is, but they're paying them a lot of money to reach consumers. And if they start pumping 3D tour content to consumers, someone listing their house, I want that. And then the agent has no choice but to do it. So we'll see. That's kind of my
Right.
prediction. I have been wrong on occasion, but that's what I think is going to happen.
So you think it was more focused on their homes.com play versus CoStar?
Oh, I, I don't know why. I mean, Florence has it out for Zillow. Like he wants to win
Yeah,
that
he
traffic game,
does.
right? Like he is ticked. I don't know why Zillow lives rent free in his dome, but they do, and he wants to win that. Like, and it's great. Like it makes it's great content. Like and it's also awesome. It'll elevate the industry, right? When you have smart business people like competing for consumer mindshare, that's great. Like that's a good thing. That's like yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I think that'll be great. I'm psyched to see. I hope it happens. I don't know why else they would buy it. I mean, commercial real estate
Yeah,
is
I agree. I think it was definitely their residential focus, and but it is interesting, and you're absolutely right. When consumers start saying, "Hey, I need this, I want this," then agents will absolutely do. I don't know why they're not already, right? Like you really ought to be already. I've heard
yes.
privacy concerns from a lot of agents, like, "Oh, we don't want to, it's a privacy thing, and it gives the whole public the whole layout of the floor plan." I'm like, but that's what people want when they're searching for houses. They want the floor plan.
you you can't get that. Like okay, I read that as well. I think it's ridiculous because don't you want as many? You hire professional photographers to go in and photograph every aspect of the house. You don't think that's enough for somebody to to break whatever privacy standards? Of course, like I think it's ridiculous. But yeah, I agree. I don't know why they're not doing it now. It's good stuff, and it's super affordable to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So interesting, definitely interesting to see that. And I love how you said that Rich Barton lives rent free in Andy's mind. I love it. So let's talk about AI and kind of the nefarious sense, because
Okay.
I think a lot of people are worried about AI. Have you seen the AI agents popping up yet? Like the With Joy. So Joy is the AI agent, and if you buy a home with her, it's they'll rebate you. I don't know, up to $12,000 of your commission or something like that. So curious what your thoughts are on AI stepping into the role as the real estate agent.
Okay. So tomorrow, I think I have a meeting with a gentleman. His company, his AI is called Chris, and he is active now in Singapore, London, Dubai, one other market overseas. And I hosted a webinar last week, and he said we asked this exact question came up, and he just kind of smiled and he said, "Look, I'm sorry, but I have this." He said, "Our AI is converting leads to customers at five. And I can't remember his exact number, but it was impressive. And he said something like five times the rate of a standard agent in like a early chat environment. He says he's like he is an agent. He had a brokerage. He's like I'm telling you, in some he goes now this is he admitted he said I have not tested it in the U.S. market yet, but in our market we have the numbers. It's better at converting leads. Now, where would challenge him and other AI is in the servicing of things. Um, I think AI and agents should embrace this is going to be ultimately better at lead capture and nurture, right? It's going to be better at analyzing what is a good lead and what isn't. Where it's going to take, I believe, longer to be effective is in the servicing of the client, the servicing of the deal, right? It's like, it's like self-driving cars. If you put a lidar system and all the tech into a self-driving car, it's going to be terrific for a grid, like a small grid neighborhood in an inner city where there's lots of predictable lights and the streets are easy to navigate, and it's going to be great for like commercial delivery, sending stuff from one address to another, short drives. But like the self-driving vehicles like in San Francisco, they're running over people all the time. Just it's good right now. But that's what I think it's going to end up doing. I think AI is going to be really good at the top of the funnel, and it's going to be able to hand agents better, more qualified leads ready to go, and then the agent can service it from there. Um, that's a terrific thing, I think. Like that's great for the agent. Like that's all the pain in the ass work anyway. Is like getting this person to sign and under like getting them to decide if they want to move. Like, well, I don't know if I want to buy. Let the AI handle all that stuff. Like get the leads from that, and then you got to walk them through the deal. You got to handle the emotional aspects of it all. You got to tell them why they should move now instead of waiting for 2 weeks or whatever the market situation is. Um, no, in the bigger picture, will it ever replace agents? No, it'll replace. I'll use the quote. It'll replace those who are not like its presence. Like there's a lot of agents out there who just continue to think technology has no bearing like, on the consumer. They're gonna be wrong. Um, but yeah, good agents who can adapt and understand its benefits, they're gonna only earn more value through it, right? I think.
I agree. And we have AI running on our leads in Zoodealio. We've been doing that for about 6 weeks now, and it just gets better and better. And some of the things it'll say, I'll be
Awesome.
like, damn, that was great. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now it does go off the rails at times, and we'll be like, whoa, that person on the other end must have been like WTF. But all in
Yeah.
all, it's
Yeah.
for the most part, it's been really cool. So yeah, and it is interesting because I definitely see younger generations adopting the technology at a greater capacity than maybe the older generations. So I think that'll be a factor too. But you mentioned self-driving cars. Like Tesla gave full self-driving update for free for like 30 days. So we tried it, and
Oh,
it is unbelievably good. It is
yeah.
unbelievably good. It is. I get a little car sick because it starts and stops pretty aggressively, and it's got the
Yeah.
regenerative braking. So when you stop, you're just like, kind of, it's just a little like, but I have a lot of construction around my house,
Uh-huh.
and it's just performing exceptionally well. So
Wow.
it's just one of those things that it gets better and better. And Tesla's not on LiDAR, they're on the neural net. So a little bit of a different
Yeah.
way of seeing, but it's really good. And so I feel like AI will continue to get better and better. And when we're not embracing it, or if we're, actually like
Yeah.
against it, it's not going to serve us in real estate. So
Yeah.
that to me is, I think that there's so much opportunity, and like the things that it'll be able to do, we probably can't even imagine right now. And so I'm really excited about that. But from your perspective though, from what you're seeing coming out and the innovations that you're seeing, I'm curious, like, anything else that you're just really
Yeah.
excited about, or you've
Yeah.
seen and you're like, that's really cool.
Yeah. Software faces like without any like you log into your CRM now, right? And you go to your accounts and you look at your dashboard and you click through your performance reports and you click this feature and you drop down this menu. I've seen I was actually supposed to have a demo with a top secret off soft like before this call. They had to, it's gonna it got rescheduled of one system that is going to use AI to do what I'm mentioning. Another one I wrote about a small brokerage in the Bay Area called Avenue 8. All you have to do is type in what you want into a text interface and just say, I want to know what new leads I got. And it just spits them back to you. Like, so you're going to have software that you can just tell what to do and you don't need to log into anything. You don't have to like go and click on a document to read it. You can just ask the AI. Let's say you get an alert that a contract came back with some edits Tell me what the edits are in this contract. Type it in, and it's just going to tell you what it is. So yeah, software without interfaces. Just just conversing back and forth with the AI. That's what I'm really excited about,
Incredible.
which will blow my mind because I love like great front end design and cool. I love UI UX design and talking about it, and it's because I like have an art background, so I love all that aspect of software, but it might go away.
It kind of hard to imagine, really,
Yeah.
for me at least.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm excited for it too. Well, so are you like, tell me, like, what sort of technologies do you enjoy using?
I'm not nearly as tech savvy as a lot of people may think. I've got this question before. Uh, I don't, not a ton, honestly. Mainly because I'm constantly writing about it and reading about it. So when I back away from my work, I like to have things very simple and analog. For example, I won't have a touchscreen in a vehicle I own because car manufacturers aren't good front end designers. So that's why the touchscreens are terrible. And why I drive a 25-year-old TV because I want analog. I want things that are tangible. Um, yeah, I honestly not a ton. Oh, I use a lot of what I do love is like mapping navigation apps, that kind of stuff, which kind of ties into the other work I do. Um, Anything voice controlled, I think is super cool. Like I've learned to, which is kind of is getting into the AI, especially used like when driving. Um, yeah, not a ton. Uh, yeah, honestly, I don't even have one time a few years ago I was given a bunch of smart home stuff to test. The Nest products, right, that tied into Google, and I had them around the house. And my wife asked me one question. I had it in the living room. She said, "Can you guarantee no one can hack that?" And I said, "No." And she said, out of the house." So I had to like test in my office. So I'm pretty analog, honestly.
So,
I mean, I'll test stuff like if people send me
but
devices, I'll play around with it, that kind of thing. But yeah, not super
well, I
exciting.
think that, and it's so interesting that you write about it all day. I am curious, like, was writing something that you were naturally good at, or did you really have to work at it?
Well, that's hard to answer without sounding arrogant. It was. I've been a writer all my life.
Just
That's all I'm truly passionate about. That's all I've ever wanted to do. Um, I was a creative writer since I was a kid. I was in classes when I was a kid. I was going to like camps and seminars and won a bunch of contests in high school and all that. Like, I've been a creative person at heart. Um, yeah, like I got suspended from my college internship at public radio because in my downtime I was writing these little short stories, these little horror short stories, and they found them, and they weren't psyched on what I was writing. But yes, yeah,
that's
yeah. I've
funny.
always been a writer. I like it more than anything. Like still, I'm very blessed. I get paid to write, even though it's not always creative. But thank you for saying some of my stuff is witty. I try to work that in. I want to make it like sometimes writing about some technology products isn't it can be dry. And I want to always make sure that the reader is entertained, whether they like the product or not, or they disagree with me or not. All fine. Um, but if they're entertained in some way, then awesome. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, you're nailing it. Yes, your write ups are really good. Yes. So
Thanks.
if you're listening and you're not reading Craig's work, you need to, and you'll learn a lot too. Definitely learn a lot about real estate and technology. So you mentioned that you're kind of analog in your downtime, and I'm so jealous of where you live. You live near Lake Tahoe in Truckee, California,
Hmm.
and you're a backpacking guide.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that. I love hiking. I love outdoors. And so this is definitely like my jam. I want to know about it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm the youngest of four boys. So I think my parents, like, the only thing you can do with four feral males is take them out into the woods. Like, I mean, uh, right, and hope maybe one of them doesn't come back. So we just like camped, like growing up all the time. We would go up to Canada or the St. Lawrence Seaway. I grew up in upstate New York, um, so it was just kind of ingrained in us early. Um, but when back in 2008 or 9, when I wanted to go out on my own, and I was like, well, I want to make sure I'm designing. I want to have a deliberate lifestyle. I want to be able to choose what it is I'm doing, right? So I was fortunate enough to be in that position. So I was like, I've always wanted to spend more time hiking. My wife and I were going out to a lot of the national parks all the time and doing a lot of this stuff. And I said, I would love to just kind of find a way to make a living doing this. So I enrolled in the National Outdoor Leadership School, a place called Knowles, and took a lot of coursework there. And you have to get medical certs and renew those all the time. Yeah, and then in 2013, I started guiding in the Grand Canyon, mostly taking people across the canyon and down along its myriad of trails. And then when I moved up to Tahoe, now I guide primarily in Yosemite National Park and the Eastern Sierra. So down near Mammoth, the Inyo National Forest, the Ansel Adams Wilderness, those areas. Primarily in Yosemite. I'll leaving on Sunday to run a trip down there as well. It's a lot of fun. It's extremely rewarding. I've been doing it for I don't know, 11, 12 years. I'm not growing tired of it. What I'm starting to think about is I want to start doing those kind of trips for myself more often, than for work. So we'll see how it goes over the next couple of years if I hang up the professional aspects of it and then just continue all these out there pursuits kind of on my own. Um, but it's really fun, rewarding work to take folks who most of our guests have never camped or spent a night outside. So it's really going to take them into very remote areas and have them come back unhurt and extremely pleased and had a lot of fun and shown that they can be comfortable being uncomfortable, which is kind of what a lot of what backpacking is. Like, you're going to get dirty, you're going to be sweaty, you're going to be hungry and probably tired because you're not sleeping all that well in a tent, with the very real risk of bears poking around and what have you. But if you can get through it, it's like people come out super energized, and it's really neat to have played a part in that experience for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely uncomfortable, but you're absolutely right. It's just being comfortable being uncomfortable. And
Yeah,
in Yosemite, absolutely breathtaking.
pretty
So
awesome.
that has to be very rewarding. Yeah. So what's a typical trip like? Is it like a 3, 4 day? Like how does that work?
Yeah, that is probably average. Some of our longer trips are 6 days. Those get really remote, and it all depends on the operating area. But someone who focuses in Yosemite, um, what I have coming up is a what we call a base camp, which is basically we're just camping in the valley, and we do a lot of day hikes. But I have three backpacking trips in the coming months, and those are, yeah, 3 nights, 4 days. I have a Half Dome trip, so I'm taking people up on Half Dome. I have a North Rim trip where we spend 3 nights on the North Rim of Yosemite Valley. You're basically just kind of traversing across the top of the valley. You go, and it's a really big climb. You have to go about 2,500, 3,000 feet, a few miles. And so you climb way up and then you walk along and kind of drop back down. Um, those are really neat. What else do I have? Yeah, and I have a High Sierra trip, which will be great. It starts in the high country, so we'll get up to like 11,000 feet up Neil Vogelsang, which is a peak in the high country of Yosemite, up in the Tuolumne Meadows area. Yeah, they're really fun. Like, it's a big part of guiding is telling adults what to wear, because people are very very uncomfortable. But like, should I bring this? Should I bring this? Outfits for every day. And I'm like, look, you just need like one pair of hiking clothes, something comfortable to sleep in, and a warm jacket, and you're normally good. But it's understandable. Like, people, they're out of their comfort zone, so people are anxious, and clothes and more food is all comfort items, are all things that provide people a sense of ease, when they're in unfamiliar places. So it's all part of it. But in the end, I worry before every trip. They're always different. They're always a bit stressful up front, because you don't always know what you're going to get. Um, but almost every time you come out, and it feels great. It's really it's like I said, it's very energizing. It's a lot of fun. It's exhausting. Like, it's very, yeah, it's really, because you're on all the time. It's not just the physical aspect of it, keeping people safe. I am a talker, as you've probably rightly noticed, because it's been about 10 minutes of me just chatting. Um, and that, like, even that kind of wears on me for a bit. Even someone who's like very social and never met a microphone they didn't like. All that kind of just, as soon as you're out and your guests are safe, your whole body just kind of collapses into this mode of relaxation. All right, I got him out. Everyone's safe. We're good. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it.
I bet well, it's definitely fun to follow you along on your social media.
Oh,
So
thanks.
definitely, I love all of your little videos and clips and your bear encounters. Oh my goodness, that I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that no.
Black bears are
You
just
get
big raccoons.
close to bears. Are
Yeah.
they? Wow. Well, they don't look like big raccoons, and I think that's the scary part. But okay, so as we wrap up today, I have a couple other rapid fire questions for you.
Shoot.
What do you think is overrated in real estate right now?
Overrated. Worry about Zillow is overrated. They're
Agreed.
not there to harm you.
Agreed. Agent. What do you think is underrated?
I'm gonna get the benefits of these NAR lawsuits, for lack of a better term. In the end,
Benefits. Okay, let's
I know.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Hear me out. I think it's going to, however it all settles. A lot of this is all speculative, right? These are all, like, there could be a lot more court cases, all this. However, let's just, for the sake of this question, say that the settlement is approved as is. In the end, it's going to elevate the trade of being a real estate agent, to encourage, and in some cases force, more agents to prove their value to the transaction. Right? That's a good thing. Going to create more financial planner type. And that is a good thing, right? It's a big, expensive transaction. And I'm not throwing him under the bus, because I agree with him. The gentleman, a Guy Gal, who runs Side, he said it. There's too many part-time agents in the space doing a few deals a year. You can't get good at it in that capacity, right? Those people might very well go away as a result of this. What's going to be left are really good agents who embraced this change and made themselves better as a result. So that's what I think is underrated, is the long-term benefits of these lawsuits collectively.
I like it. I like that perspective, and definitely agree with you on that. All right, so leave us with, Craig, what is your favorite book?
Oh, I could grab it. Book. No, yeah, it's up here. It's probably a tie between Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, which is a little heavy read. Yeah, that's That is,
But
yeah.
you did used to write horror short stories,
Yeah,
so
yeah. And this that book is it's actually just got green lit, but it has long been considered the most unfilmable novel in Hollywood. But it is incredibly in depth and visceral, and that's a terrific read. Um, but so is Fascination is a book I refer to it so often because it's just a great take on modern business and how business operates, good and bad. Mainly, I always recommend that to folks. Um, and there's I just went blank on it. Rats. Oh, Deep Survival. Lawrence Gonzalez. Deep Survival is the best non-business business book you can read. I can't stand the just pretentious all these there's so many business books that just have some sort of slogan or theme, blue oceans or what, like all that stuff. So much of it is you just forget about it. um, Deep Survival is a book about a number of different true life survival scenarios. And it is such a great metaphor for surviving business and life in general. And all, like to very quickly summarize it, although there's a ton of nuance to it, it really comes down to your mindset. And he studies all these actual people lived or died because of their mindset, how they approached their situation, right? And it's a fascinating read. It's a quick read, and I highly recommend that to anyone who wants something different in their. If it's a business related book you're looking for, Deep Survival, Lawrence Gonzalez is terrific. So yeah, fiction, kind of a couple nonfiction books in there that I think I always kind of go to when I ask these questions. They just pop up, so I'm figuring they're always my favorites.
all right. Well, it sounds like I'm gonna need to read Deep Survival.
Yeah, it's terrific. And I don't like Blood Meridian is not don't it's summer. Wait till like like fall. If it's like raining outside for like a week, then pick that up. But don't like ruin a summer reading Blood Meridian. It's pretty rough, but fantastic. Just yeah.
It's rough, huh? Well, you do know I'm in Arizona. It does not rain for a
Oh,
week.
it's
So,
but yeah, a lot of it takes place in the Blood Meridian is all about like Southwest, the Indian Wars, about post Civil War going through the American Southwest. Like, yeah, it's pretty rough. But look, Arizona's like Northern Arizona is just fantastic. And do you guys like
yes.
yeah? Do you get the north rim of the Grand Canyon is just fantastic up there. I would spend a lot of time there if it was closer. I used to, but I would love to go back.
Yeah, that's cool that you were a guide for the Grand Canyon. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's
spent a lot of time in
intense.
Flagstaff.
Yeah, I love Flagstaff. It's growing a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy there. Totally changing. So very cool. Well, Craig, thank you. I've enjoyed our time here today and appreciate you coming on, sharing your insights with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Very psyched to have been asked, and thanks for letting me be on. Appreciate it very much.